My point is, a photo is worth 1,000 lies. And of course, it's building up on the notion that a photo is worth 1,000 words. And let's see if it works. Yeah. So I will arrange this in two parts. This is the first part in which I will try to address some of the issues. And tomorrow I will address some of the solutions I think that might be feasible. So part one, the framework. I will be very boring and start with a quote by Umberto Eco, stating that to say that light is a medium is a refusal to realize that there are at least three definitions of light. Light can be a signal of information, the result of electricity. A message. My neighbor ground at the ground always leave the light on when she's not at home. But this is to say I'm at home. Actually, the best way to know when she's at home is to see when the light is off. And part three, but anyway, light can be a message. Light can also be a channel, something to help you to read the book. Now the tricky part. In each of these cases, the impact on the social body varies according to the role it plays in the communication chain. Much easier in English than in Italian. My point is how to rethink visual media to engage issues of veridicality and falsehood. I will try to address this in 6 points, very quickly, by showing images. So the first point is framing lies, question mark. Is composition lying? Cover, Time magazine. The picture, from a compositional point of view, defines the perspective the magazine had on President Putin. But we don't need to go that far away. These are two alternatives. Same location, two different perspectives. The result is completely different. Lying. I will also add that the color profile of this projector, of this screen, is lying on the real quality of the colors. Which image we develop from there? An image is a fragment partitioned from the real. It's a fragment, it's not the real. We need to be reminded about that. As a fragment, it shows a moment in time. So this is when Prime Minister meets the Queen. Last one was current Prime Minister Boris Johnson. But depending on the picture we choose, we have different representation and hence different realities. This one or this one. They happen at the same time from the same perspective, few seconds of difference. Depending on the picture we choose, we are going to create a different reality, which is then going to trickle down to develop furthermore depending on following events. The point is, images works as projection, i.e., they state something without saying that. The result are alternative realities. 3, which multimedia? We very rarely see images by themselves. We often caption images or even write metadata. That is a completely different issue. It would be nice to discuss that. I'm going to touch on that. This is a picture I shot in Damascus in a seminary, in a Quranic school. And this was the Thursday evening lecture. So the gentleman on your left is actually fully focused, listening to the class. That is a caption which is absolutely true. But I cannot show you that the gentleman is blind. And depending on the caption I write, I'm going to create, again, alternative representation, which translate into alternative realities. alternative understandings, and so on and so forth. Whether they are true or false is what we are debating these 2 days. It's stop. So I don't know how much time I still have, but point 4. Again, still images. I'm not touching on moving images. Still images not only come with caption, they also come in series. 1, 2, 3. Pictures I shot when I was doing a work on the Sufi community of the Bektashi in Albania. Our minds create alternative readings of this, depending on whether we read these 3 images from left to right or from right to left. If I don't give you any kind of indication, depending on your cultural background, you are going to read them in different ways. And that, again, different languages and different cultural background have different habits. I would say European languages left to right, languages based on the Arabic language, on the Arabic alphabet, right to left. But at the same time, I can read these 3 images in terms of time, from left to right, morning, midday, night. Space, inside the tekka, in his room, outside. Action, praying, reading, walking. Perspectives, 24 millimeters, 50 millimeters, 65 millimeters. All this information are there at the very same time. Which storytelling do we gather as a result? And again, we have 2 different registers, photojournalism and photoreportage. Richtin differentiates what the French call reportage as that which involves the articulation of a rhythm of events. The articulation of a rhythm of events. Cartier-Bresson defined that as the sniffing of a situation. The American tradition is very much that of photojournalism, that wishes, aims to assess reality in a less visually dynamic and more verbal way. What is my intended register of communication? What is the understood register of communication? Again, depending on the answer, we produce alternative realities and alternative understanding of the situation. I'll give you my intended register, which is creating a rhythm based on the hat, because the hat is what defines this community. But again, which story am I producing? Which progression? If I move from 3 to 4, is it still valid? Is it still working? What if I change the first image? I create a different rhythm, but it is the same action, the same moment during the day, and the same space. The only thing that changes is the composition. The rhythm enhance the representation, enhance the understood reality is completely different. So which lie am I going to say? Which lie am I going to show? Which lie am I going to tell? Depending on the composition, depending on the series of images. 5. Okay. Because of all we are discussing, we have the social media personalization of the real. I live in the UK, so to me the current Brexit issue as an European is very felt. So this was a press conference by the Prime Minister of Luxembourg 3 weeks ago, and this was the personalization of the news feed. He was performing in front of audiences. And then we had another layer, which is people engage in the conversation with the possibility and the ability to retune the conversation and redirect the conversation based on their interpretation and production of the real. 6, getting there. Interactive lies. This is something I'm working currently on, my latest project, and this is what I call a new set of lies. So interactive storytelling recognizes that audiences co-produce a story as authors. It is a participatory model that unsets contents, enhance meanings, enhance representation, and the real. This is a mind map of the project on the Cairo 10 Makers I produced 3 years ago. And again, it was showing all the combination, all the links. So this is the mind map. These are all how all images are, in terms of meanings, connected and can be twisted in their meaning making. Each chapter has 3 sub-chapters. And if you open a sub-chapter, you can then decide how to progress in the story in terms of your next interest. My takeaway, 1 minute and 30 seconds. When each image is multiple storytelling, and this is what I was trying to address by reference to the notion of each image is worth 1,000 lies, and I represent this in this way. The white ray is the image. The prism is the audience, is us reading that. And as part of our reading, we created a rainbow of interpretation. So when each image is multiple storytellings, is the real representable? I come from journalism. I work as a journalist for 20 years. So it's something very crucial to me. I'm not doing just philosophy. I'm interested in praxis. But we need to recognize the issue before moving into addressing how to work on that. So I'll skip this. And thank you. Ask me who is this guy, please. I skip my current project because of that. Do you know this guy? You know. Sorry, I saw you smiling. The one on the right is Ben, British tourist to Egypt 3 years ago, when the guy on your left, this very quiet guy, threatened the airplane, saying he was hijacking that because he had a bomb. It was just sausages. But he didn't know at that time. So as they were waiting in order to have the issue resolved, Ben went to his hijacker and said, "Can I take a selfie with you?" "Yes." So his last thought before dying was, "Let me show a selfie of me to my girlfriend. Thank you. Have a good day."
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Max.